Man, why is no one covering this frame? 35% base crit hit on his weapon, an ability that just lets you ignore damage.
Don't care.
Crowd control is baked into his regular gameplay loop, augments that read like custom Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Like, do you guys understand when you make these cards, you're not balancing them?
A slide attack with more AoE and stance damage than everyone's favorite Critty Kitty. And speaking of stances, almost every single one of his attacks proc melee afflictions. I rarely watch Warframe content, unless you're Demon. I like his videos. Sometimes you can even spot me in them.
There I am, Gary, there I am!
But the Exalted rework was like a month ago, and I've noticed maybe 2 videos about Baruuk. However, on the other hand, I've had dozens of videos of Excalibur show up in my feed. And I get it, Excal is John Warframe. But what is it about the monk that y'all are so afraid of? Is it really just the restraint gameplay loop that turns people off? I've even had a friend of mine talk down to for picking Baruuk because Baruuk is a bad frame. Bitch! You sit on your unemployed ass streaming Warframe for 8 hours a day. You can't have dumbass takes like that. You're in the LR ranks. Fucking act like it. I really was in a mood while writing this intro. Anyways, my point is Baruuk is the best melee frame, and it's not even fucking close.
Captain of the game, I call every play while crossing over rolling truck. Off days, see the wife of your flosser over. Defend the family full while gangsters will grab the toasters. Wifey quick to honor life for the god and hang up the posters. Scarface, see they trying to salute the Sosa. I provide the team with bread while they trying to get a loafer. A cup of peppermint tea while I sit up on a coaster. Diamond linked it up by Jacob, ain't never wearing a choker. Hold up.
Baruuk is the monk frame. The I know kung fu type shit.
I'm about to go ballistic.
And I have to admit, I too thought Baruuk was kind of mid. I actually was borderline pissed off and even disappointed on his first run on stream. I like sums it up right there. It's just so rough. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5 p.m. PST. But that was before I learned the ways of channeling inner peace and tranquility into a 5.7 million toxin dot. Usually my builds are pretty straightforward, but not for this guy. He's got a little bit more going on. I run both his augments, Elusive Retribution and Reactive Storm, with Retribution granting an increased melee attack speed and melee crit chance every time you dodge an attack with Elude. And Storm allows the base impact damage of Desert Wind to adapt to any elemental weakness of whatever enemy it hits. And on top of that, grants a scalable 250% status chance. Also, as of a recent hotfix, Reactive Storm no longer combines with modded elementals on the Desert Wind melee, which enables Baruuk to take advantage of toxin damage, turning on Archon Continuity's extra effect. And while the free armor strip from the Force Corrosive proc is nice, it's not the main reason to run this mod, but I'll touch on that later. Prime Flow gives Baruuk a massive 855 point energy pool, and Precision Intensify boosts the damage of Desert Wind and the status chance granted from Reactive Storm. I used to run Transient Fortitude over Precision, but the only other ability I scale with Strength is Elude's Augment, which already receives a 200% ability strength from both Molt Augmented and Snapshotting Sling Strength, since it's a channeling ability. If you end up using a Subsume that also scales off of Strength, I would recommend swapping back in Transient. Finally, for the Aura and the Auxilia slot, I run Swift Momentum for the extra combo duration, and Prime Sure-Footed because this is a melee frame. The extra stuff like Amora Mori, the double recharge mods, Rolling Guard, and Arcane Aegis are only there to help me survive better in Void Cascade level caps, but if you're not into capping, all those become flex spots for however you want to run the build. For Baruuk's melee, I go with a combo stacking crit status build. To actually stack the combo counter quicker, I like to run Quickening. That extra attack speed is also nice. Blood Rush, Galvanized Steel, and Organ Shatter all are there to stack up the melee's crit hit chance and crit hit damage, while Weeping Wounds and Galvanized Elementalist both boost the status chance and status damage. And as for the status chance, when this is combined with a fully stacked Reactive Storm, it results in over a 200% status chance for the melee. This super high status chance guarantees the Toxin proc from the Prime Fever Strike, which also force procs the Corrosive from the Archon Continuity. This is why you want to run Condition Overload over Prime Pressure Point, since you'll be doing almost identical damage at 160% base modded melee damage. And when the enemy isn't specifically weak to Corrosive, Reactive Storm will grant a third elemental proc, boosting Condition Overload's damage to 240%, which is multiplicative with Baruuk's strength. Speaking of multiplicative damage, because almost every single one of Baruuk's attacks will apply either ragdoll, lifted, or knockdown on the actual attacks, not the waves by the way. This makes his melee a perfect candidate for melee afflictions, which in very, very short and reductive terms will duplicate the existing dots on an enemy whenever they're hit with a melee attack that applies the ragdoll, lifted, or knockdown status effect. This dupe damage is also boosted by status damage, which is why I like running at least 3 green toxin shards. The resulting 135% toxin damage is also double dipping on the applied dots from melee afflictions. But since I'm feeling like I've yapped long enough about this build, I'm not going to go in depth on melee afflictions damage calculations. You're just going to have to trust me on this one.
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
Anyways, for the last 2 shards when I was putting this build together, it felt like Baruuk's energy economy needed a slight bump, so I ended up using 2 equilibrium shards. One final note, I didn't really talk about Baruuk's third ability, Desolate Hands, too much. Not because it's bad, by the way. The CC effect of taking away enemy guns and the extra restraint econ is nice, but neither really adds too much to the build, so it ends up just being a nice little passive. For this ability specifically, I tend to not think about it too much and just try to keep up charges when I have extra energy.